approved or disapproved.
More than a year then?
More than a year.
Wow.
And for, the folks that we ask to do a really difficult job, that is unacceptable. And right now there are organizations like ChildServe that have a long history of trauma-based services in place. All they need is some military competency training to understand those unique needs of the military, and they can be helping like ChildServe is. They can.
Right. No, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
No, that's okay.
So how did you come to ChildServe? The passion and that concern you have for soldiers just such as you is evident. How did that path from being in Iraq lead to ChildServe?
Well, I don't know. It seems to be there's a track record of service, but after the Marine Corps, I worked for 6 years for another nonprofit agency working in group homes with children with behavioral and developmental disorders.
Okay.
And I think in just, I knew I wanted to stay in that field of nonprofits and of social service. And I just became aware of this position that opened, and it really just seemed to fit. I think in my own mental and emotional evolution past the Marine Corps, I started to be able to make, I really wanted to return to that in some way. Maybe not in direct service, but to serve the men and women that I've served with and help them, help them transition as successfully as I did.
You're not a counselor yourself, but what you do facilitates those services, right? You help veterans connect with those services, and veterans and their families.
Exactly. That's one of the things that ChildServ's community action teams do, is that they bring in the government agencies like the VA.
Okay.
And we get in a room with other organizations like ChildServe, like our partner Children Home and Aid, and we talk about these issues, and we identify other agencies that are helping veterans or that could help veterans, and then we work to either provide military competency training to these organizations so they can better serve those veterans and their families.
Tell me more about military competency. Let's say an organization wants to, they watch this program, or they hear about ChildServe and this initiative, and they would like to offer that as well. How do they go about getting that training, and what happens in that training?
Well, like any demographic, the military has its own kind of unique features. Like I mentioned before, the warrior mentality is something that really anybody working with military or veteran families need to be aware of, because it's part of that culture. The warrior mentality is what makes us successful in military engagements. Also, just the nature of military service and the issues that go along with that. Absence, uncertainty, loss. Those are issues that every family with a service member has to deal with. Right.
And when they go through that training, they're made aware of that and how to perhaps respond to.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. They find out more information. Simply mm-hmm. Something like you referred to me as a soldier. Mm-hmm. For the military, there's the separate services have the separate separate terms.
Right.
So every Marine wants to be called a Marine.
A Marine.
Yeah.
I apologize for that.
No, it's quite all right. It's a common mistake, but
Okay.
those are the type of things that therapists have to be armed with. They have to know those mm-hmm. things. Many military and veterans, military personnel and veterans are very punctual and very definitive about their expectations and the expectations of the therapist. These are all things that help a therapist be better prepared to serve the military and veteran families.
Wow, that sounds like it's not only is it sensitive to the needs, but it's also prepared to deal with them, and that's it sounds like a very I guess very integrated program that responds to that.
Absolutely.
Tell me, what happens when a family goes through this counseling? Is there a follow-up to that, or are you done and you're out and you're gone? What happens? Or are there continuous meetings after the main sessions of therapy or counseling, whatever it might be, or are you pretty much done and out?
I think it's different every time.
Okay.
We're committed to the success of the family, and so we're there as long as it takes.
As long as it
That's
takes.
the short answer, yeah.
Okay. Through ChildServe, do you connect these families with other service organizations for like employment or education or related issues?
Absolutely.
Tell me about that.
I think that's one of the greatest benefits of these community action teams is the network that creates, and how they complement kind of this greater Illinois network called Illinois Joining Forces, which is a state-initiated forum that brings service providers together, government agencies, military and veteran families together, to ensure that those families have the services they need.
Any organization specifically that you may be able to name?
Illinois Joining Forces.
That's an umbrella organization.
Exactly, and
Okay.
ChildServe is a stakeholder in that organization. It's a nonprofit, state-initiated website that is a directory for resources such as ChildServ's counseling services.
Okay.
And a veteran or any family member can get on the website and search by zip code or by need and self-refer to services.
Okay. And this is an Illinois initiative. Are there plans to maybe work with organizations in other states, or have you seen some of that happen in other states?
Well, it's actually a response to Joining Forces, which is a Michelle Obama initiative.
Okay.
And really a necessary one that we've needed a long time in this country to pull these resources together, to organize them. What ChildServe does is that on a smaller scale. We're working in individual communities to make sure that those communities, that the elected officials, the community leaders, the faith-based organizations are pulling together for those military and veteran families in their community. Because veterans and military personnel are everywhere. Every organization, I can't guarantee this, but many organizations have veterans. They may not even advertise it, they may not talk about it, but veterans are everywhere. Reservists, guard members are everywhere. And it's our job it's our responsibility. If we're gonna send them off,
Into harm's way.
It's our responsibility as a country, as a community, to pull together and help these families when they return.
Okay.
While they're gone.
Tell me about you've been working at on these type of issues for some time now. Maybe a family or an individual you recall, you don't have to name them, obviously, that you recall that was able to get help, able to pull through, and able to step forward in the development of their life, post combat. Can you think of anybody that just stands out?
Well, we serve a lot of military and veteran families. I guess one story that one of the first kind of successes we had with the community action teams, a member of the community team came forward with a family that needed some help with funeral services. And because of the network that we had built, we very quickly put together the resources for this family to help them out.
Very quickly.
Yeah.
Okay.
In a day.
In a day.
Yeah.
So it's that type of immediacy that you're able to respond with, and obviously of great importance to people that have been, like you said, are used to being on a schedule, are used to a regimented life.
Yeah.
Right.
Since coming on board with ChildServe, my biggest goal has been to have a direct, tangible effect on the community, and you know, to be committed to doing something with these community action teams, and to make sure that we're not just sitting in a room talking, that we're going out, we're providing real services to these families, and that we're really helping them out.
Okay, tell me a little more. We're almost out of time, but I would like to, for our viewers to know about these community action teams, what they do, and you've touched on that a little, but just to go over it again, just so people are aware of it, what they do, when, and where, and who's invited to participate.
Well, anybody who is interested in helping military and veteran families, any organization, any individual, is welcome to be a part of these teams. Right now we have 2 teams, one in Austin neighborhood of Chicago and one in the northwest suburbs in Palatine Township. And anybody who's concerned with these families is welcome to attend. The Austin team meets the first Tuesday of every month at our Austin office at 4909 West Division. And the Palatine Township Community Action Team meets the second Friday of every month at the First United Methodist Church of Palatine at 123 North Plum Grove Road in Palatine, Illinois. And our primary goals are to identify services in the community, identify families that need help, build awareness of the issues, and then build capacity within the community to help these families. And one of the biggest ways we've done that so far with the community teams is to host these family events, family celebrations, that really feature the community and the tools that the community has to help those families.
So these community action teams, that meet on a monthly basis, it's also a family celebration?
Absolutely.
Okay. And at these family celebrations, it's what, food, drinks, party, what happens in those family celebrations, or is it just making people aware of the services, or a combination of the two?
Well, for ChildServe, the children and the families come first.
Okay.
And so in helping the military member, in helping the veteran, you have to help the support system, you have to help the family. And so we're committed to making sure that the family receives services just like the service member and just like the veteran does. One of the biggest populations that aren't getting help right now are those people that are not served by the VA. Those, you know, many veterans with dishonorable or less than honorable discharges, significant others, and the children are currently receiving very little services from the VA. And it's not their function. You know, that's the role of the community to step up and help those support systems.
Well, it's great to know that your organization is doing that.
Yeah.
Well, Jacques, thanks so much for coming onto this program and telling us about this. It's so important and so necessary for those who have served the country.
Thank you so much for having me.
Community Forum is a community service of CAN TV. If your nonprofit organization would like to use CAN TV, call 312-738-1400 and ask for nonprofit services. Tune into Community Forum for local issues and concerns every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. on CAN TV 21. I'm Juan Carlos Hernandez. Thank you for joining us.